Alara, struggling with financial hardship, finally decided to sell the necklace that once belonged to her late husband, but just as she was about to part with it, the shop owner froze in shock upon seeing the piece. "Where did you get this necklace?" he asked, eyes wide. "What secret does this necklace hold?" Before we dive into the story, don't forget to click subscribe and let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. Alara's breath hitched as she stared at her phone screen. The figures on the display felt like a physical blow to her chest. Her savings account, once their last line of defense, now showed a hollow, demoralizing zero. In the sterile, antiseptic-smelling room of the London clinic, her mother, Evelyn, lay frail and weak. An IV drip was tethered to her arm, and her breathing was labored, each intake a painful struggle. The doctor had been clear. Evelyn needed several rounds of specialized chemotherapy, and the cost was simply insurmountable for Alara. Since her father's passing 5 years prior, Alara had been the sole pillar of her small family. Now, with Evelyn, her last living foundation, threatened, Alara felt herself crumbling. She closed her eyes, letting the tears she had held back all day finally stream down her cheeks. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. A different image soon crossed her mind. Her 4-year-old daughter, Clara, waiting for her back home, smiling that innocent smile, unaware of the storm gathering over their lives. Their financial stability had been precarious for a year. Since Liam, Alara's beloved husband, died instantly in a tragic single-car accident. The accident had plunged Alara and Clara into unimaginable grief and accelerated their decline into poverty. The small, home-based baking business Alara had built, which once provided supplemental income, now barely covered their daily meals. Every job application she submitted was met with a polite but firm rejection. That night, after confirming her mother was asleep and retrieving Clara from a neighbor's house, Alara returned to their small, quiet flat, a space filled with the silent echoes of laughter and warmth they had shared with Liam. She sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes sweeping the room. Her hand reached for the drawer, seeking something she hadn't touched in months, a small black velvet box. Inside, nestled against the dark fabric, lay a silver necklace. The pendant was a graceful teardrop shape, intricately engraved with a delicate lily blossom. It looked simple, yet to Alara, its value was incalculable. It was the only piece of jewelry Liam had ever given her. She picked it up, letting the polished silver catch the dim lamplight, its faint sparkle inviting memories to resurface. Alara, fresh out of university, had been an awkward junior staffer in the marketing department. That was where she met Liam, her division head. He wasn't the rigid, intimidating boss she expected. He was warm, patient, and attentive, guiding her through the initial hurdles of her career. One evening, Alara sat alone at her desk, long after everyone else had gone. Her eyes were puffy, and her shoulders shook with stifled sobs. A major presentation she had labored over for weeks had spectacularly collapsed. She hadn't just failed the client. She had been harshly criticized in front of her colleagues. She wanted to vanish. "Alara, still here?" Liam stood at the doorway, concern etched on his face. She hastily wiped her eyes. "It's late, let's get you home," he said, stepping closer. Alara couldn't hold it in anymore. The tears returned. "I'm so sorry, Liam. I failed. I let you down." Liam said nothing about the presentation. He simply pulled up a chair beside her and took a small, foil-wrapped chocolate bar from his suit pocket. He placed it in her trembling hand. "Take this. Chocolate always manages to make a bad day a little better," he said gently. Alara looked at the chocolate, confused. Liam offered a faint, reassuring smile. "When I first started, I made mistakes too. Once, I sent a crucial proposal to the wrong client. It was a massive account. I was torn apart by my boss. I remember crying in the office washroom, just like you now." Alara's sobs slowly subsided, but my boss came to me and said, "You'll never know how strong you are until you learn to get up after a fall." Then he gave me a chocolate just like this. Liam looked directly at Alara, his smile now genuine. Don't be afraid of mistakes, Alara. Every mistake is a lesson. The important thing is never to stop trying. I believe in you. Those words, spoken with that gentle smile, became a personal mantra. From their professional dynamic, a quiet love blossomed. They married in a small, simple ceremony. Due to the firm's rules against spouses working in the same department, Alara chose to resign. You are my happiness, Alara. Don't worry, I will work harder for you, Liam had promised. Refusing to be a burden, Alara threw herself into her home baking business. With her skill and Liam's unwavering support, the small venture thrived. They lived simply, but their life was rich with love. Their joy peaked with the birth of Clara, the daughter they adored. But their happiness was fleeting. When Clara was just 3, the phone rang, a call that tore their world apart. Liam was gone. Now, with the chilling metal of the necklace in her hand, Alara faced her final, heartbreaking choice. Selling it felt like severing the last tangible piece of Liam she possessed. Yet the needs of her sick mother and her innocent daughter were a demand she couldn't ignore. With a heavy heart, she placed the locket into her handbag. The next day, Alara walked into a quiet antique jewelry shop in a leafy corner of West London. It was modest but meticulously clean. A kind-faced older woman greeted her. "Can I help you, dear?" Alara drew the locket from her bag, her hands shaking as she placed it on the velvet display tray. "I'd like to sell this necklace," she whispered. The woman, Mrs. Weatherby, picked up the piece. As soon as her gaze fell upon the lily carving, her eyes widened. Her friendly demeanor was instantly replaced by a look of profound shock. She called to her husband, who was working at a desk in the back. "Arthur, come here for a moment." The elderly man, Mr. Weatherby, walked over. His eyes, magnified by his reading glasses, also widened at the sight of the locket. Where did you get this, child?" he asked, his voice rough with emotion. Alara was taken aback by their intense reaction. "It was a gift from my late husband," she replied. Mrs. Weatherby peered intently at Alara. "Was your husband named Liam?" she asked, her voice trembling. Alara nodded, stunned. "How did you know?" Mr. Weatherby stared at the locket, then back at Alara. "Where is Liam now?" his voice barely a whisper. Alara's eyes welled up. "He passed away a year ago, in an accident." Her voice caught in her throat. Suddenly, both elderly people began to weep, holding on to each other's hands. Mrs. Weatherby's sobs filled the quiet shop. Alara was utterly confused. What was their connection to Liam? Mrs. Weatherby eventually composed herself and led Alara to a small sofa. "Please sit, dear. We need to talk." She pulled a worn leather wallet from her purse and produced a faded photograph. It showed a beautiful young woman with bright, sparkling eyes, a woman who bore a striking resemblance to Mrs. Weatherby. "This was our daughter, Vera," Mrs. Weatherby said, tears flowing again. "She passed away a long time ago." Mr. Weatherby continued the story, his voice heavy with sorrow. "Vera was our only child. Years ago, she was engaged to a wonderful man. We approved of him entirely. They were planning their wedding. We commissioned this locket. It was crafted here, in this very shop, specifically for Vera." They described how Vera was diagnosed with a rare, aggressive illness. They expected the fiancé to leave, but he never did. He stayed by Vera's side, caring for her with unwavering devotion even as her condition deteriorated. "That man was Liam, your husband," Mr. Weatherby whispered, fighting back tears. "He loved our daughter so truly." But fate intervened. Before they could marry, Vera died. Liam had visited the Weatherbys several times after, but they hadn't heard from him in the last year. They hadn't known he was gone. Alara pressed her hand over her mouth, tears streaming. She had never known this story. Liam had always said he had no family or close relatives. Yet here were two people, and a profound, secret love story that were integral to his past. Before Vera died, she gave the locket to Liam, Mrs. Weatherby explained. She told him, "Keep this, and one day give it to your wife, the woman who will share your life. Tell her that this locket is a symbol of a sincere love that never dies." Alara wept uncontrollably, not just for her own grief, but for the depth of the man she had married, a man who carried such a painful, profound story, and who had honored a promise of love even beyond his first beloved. He had never told Alara about Vera, perhaps to shield her from the pain of his past, or simply because the locket, given without explanation, spoke volumes on its own. Mrs. Weatherby gently rubbed Alara's shoulder. "Now tell us, why must you sell it?" With a voice thick with emotion, Alara recounted everything. Her mother's illness, her desperate need for funds, her depleted savings. When she finished, Mr. Weatherby shook his head firmly. "Alara, you cannot sell this locket. It is yours. It is our Vera's legacy. Keep it." "But I desperately need the money," Alara pleaded. Mrs. Weatherby opened a drawer and pulled out a thick envelope. She pressed it into Alara's hand. "This is not payment for the locket. This is help from us. Consider it a gift sent to you by Liam." Alara tried to refuse, but the couple insisted. With a reluctant but grateful heart, she accepted. Inside, she found a stack of banknotes, enough to cover her mother's medical treatment for several months. Alara wept again, this time overwhelmed by their unexpected kindness. "Do you have a job, dear?" Mr. Weatherby asked. Alara shook her head, mentioning her failed attempts to find work. "Then would you like to work here at our shop?" he offered. "We need someone to help us, and we want it to be you." Alara could only nod, tears still blurring her vision. From that day forward, Alara's life slowly transformed. Working at the Weatherby's shop felt like an unforeseen destiny. She learned about jewelry, metals, and gemstones, all while being treated like a daughter by the couple. They shared cherished memories of Liam and their late daughter, Vera. Through their stories, Alara came to know Liam in a new dimension, not just her warm, devoted husband, but a man of immense capacity for enduring love and loyalty. Every day, Alara wore the locket. It no longer felt heavy because of its monetary worth, but because of the history it carried. It was the thread connecting her to Liam's past, to his first love, and to the people who were now her unexpected family. The locket was proof that sincerity and kindness always find a way to transcend time and life's boundaries, protecting those who deserve it most. Alara had not only regained her mother's health and stability, but had also found a new family that made her whole. She knew she was no longer alone.